special guest for you tonight.
Hello, we've been expecting you.
This is not a test. Your government and corporate overlords have implemented new measures for your own health and safety. We are just following orders.
Everything is going to be fine.
I'd like to introduce...
Welcome, everyone, to It Is Knocked Conscious. I am a tech-tard, okay? The intro is still set up for If by Whiskey, so I apologize. This isn't a gotcha, I promise. So first of all, I can't explain to you why this gentleman is sitting across wherever digitally from me where we are. I can't even explain it. So, sir, Bryce Eddy, please. Hi, sir. We've never met, never spoken. I want to get to know you. So let's get to know each other, my friend. Tell us about yourself.
All right. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Listen, I'm a longtime business guy, entrepreneur. I have several things I'm doing in my life. Once my youngest daughter asked me, I think she was maybe 9 at the time, Dad, what do I tell people you do for a living? And I just said, honey, just tell them I'm a many-layered onion. In addition to my business life, I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Been around that world for a long time. I have a podcast on Salem's Network, political podcast, but it's really more of a long-form conversational style podcast where I just interview people who are interesting to me. But of course, we're in interesting times, so we're talking a lot about that stuff. I was on Charlie Kirk's board at one of his 4 entities that make up the TP USA family, and obviously lost a dear friend in his murder. And so I'm talking about things like that. Of course, I'm about to launch a cigar brand, and I've got a few other irons in the fire. Yeah, so life is good. I am blessed. I split my time between Eagle, Idaho, which is just outside of Boise, and Nashville, Tennessee.
That's beautiful, man. So I can tell you just right off the bat, person-wise, you and I would totally dig each other, my friend. Absolutely get along. Let's start with MMA. Let's do this because I think it's good to connect on a weird story, right? We each have an MMA story, I'm sure. Are you familiar with Pat Miletich by any chance?
Yeah.
Long time MMA. Okay. Have you ever trained with him or anything? Or
never rolled with him, but yeah, he's
really
one
cool.
of the old school gangsters.
Old school gangsters, right? But he's the one who, Matt Hughes replaced basically. That was like the next level, how they leveled up, right? You clearly understand. I saw UFC 1 in college on the pay-per-view, you know what I mean? We all chipped in money. It was the weirdest thing with the gis and the tournament, and all that stuff. So what's fun, I was at Freedom Fest. I was at this place called Freedom Fest, and I met these people, and it's in Vegas, and they're like, oh, we're doing something in Phoenix the next day, and that's where I'm at, which is literally, I'm stone's throw from TP USA Phoenix, from headquarters. No joke. I've even got a closer story than that, but I won't share that right now because it's a little personal. But anyway, so so I go to this thing in Phoenix, and Pat Miletich is there. Mm-hmm. So they're like, you better invite him over your house, man. He'll come over, he'll hang out with you, whatever. I'm like, Pat Miletich is gonna hang over my house. So he's like, you got to buy 10 steaks. And you got to make them antibiotic and all this shit. So I go to, and I don't know if you've ever been to Phoenix, because you probably have been with TP USA and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
there's this place called Hobie. Yeah, there's this like local meat place called Hobie Meats, right? So I get up crack of ass, 6 a.m. I haul over there. I get like $400 of meat, right? And I'm like, Pat Miletich is coming over, and like 3 people show up. Now, Pat is one of them, so it totally worked out that way. But the most humble. You know what I mean? Like, I look at that discipline, when I saw the Machado black belt, I just know from your perspective, like, it's like the Joe Rogan. There's an internal discipline I feel everyone must have in order to be able to start working outward. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. I mean, what it is that it's so humbling over time. If you've trained for a long time, you know that somebody is going to be able to beat you. And you'll always meet somebody that is, better and more talented than you in that world. And there's a natural kind of pecking order that happens in jiu-jitsu schools, and everybody gets mellowed out. The guys that are jerks largely don't exist at those top levels, because that gets beaten out of them when they're young. And you end up becoming more of a humble, chill, kind of cool guy. Plus, you can operate at that like really intense high level. That makes you kind of mellow. It's like a marathon runner with a very low pulse. And so almost all the guys that are those old school fighters are humble, nice guys. There's very few of them, unless it's kind of base personality. Because there are people that don't really jive with people, don't really want, like sort of the autism guys that are, absolute.
That's us. That's my people.
Yeah. Absolute masters, but they're not relational. But most of the guys are just chill and cool. I got to spend some time, shooting with Hoist Gracie a couple of years ago. Still have his number.
The Hoist Gracie.
Yeah. I rolled with him one time many years ago.
Wow.
But I got to go shooting with him at Terran Tactical, which, by the way, you mentioned Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was a classmate of mine.
Okay.
And so we were on the mat together back in the day. And I actually, interestingly enough,
was that at Eddie Bravo's place or
no? That was Jean-Jacques Machado.
It's Machado,
Eddie Bravo,
right? Yeah, Jean-Jacques. Yeah,
Eddie Bravo was a Jean-Jacques Machado black belt. Eddie and I came up together. He was like a belt ahead of me. I helped him.
He beat a Gracie.
Yeah, I helped him get ready for that fight against Hoyler that made him famous.
Really?
We all
awesome.
helped him, prepare for that, and we just had an awesome crew of guys. I mean, it was just an unbelievable
awesome
time.
Level.
Yeah, it was cool.
Level,
yeah,
cool.
No, everybody's cool.
So I'm just going to tell you, I don't know why you're sitting here, but your publishing company reached out to me completely unbeknownst. I have a thought of how that happened, but do you know how this happened? Why I was contacted to have a conversation? Because
I don't.
Okay, well,
they do their job, and they get me on interesting people's shows, and I told you I got one role. I just want to talk to interesting people, and that's it.
So let's get interesting. So I'm gonna okay. This is the one thing. I am authentic. Okay. I'm going to tell you I'm authentic. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about topic wise? And before we continue, absolute condolences to the loss of Charlie Kirk. My heart absolutely breaks.
Thank you for that. So. A lot of us have broken hearts. It was a tough and terrible thing. Charlie was a very, very good man, did not deserve to be murdered. I've talked a lot about that in recent days, and we can touch on it. So Charlie, when he was assassinated, the world all of a sudden became, doubly, triply, 10 times more aware of him. And so a lot of people that had never consumed his content were totally unfamiliar with Charlie. All of a sudden, they're watching hours of his video. And then, once that sort of died down, then come the conspiracy theorist people and the people that for clicks are making up a tremendous
not for clicks,
amount.
but I'm conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind what
we'll talk more. Yeah, we'll talk more. But please continue.
Let me say this, because I think that there is a place for people to identify conspiracies, and there's a lot of conspiracies in the world. Most of them are right there in front of you, like the things that they've done to this country financially. What happened in 2008, the socializing of the losses that the banks and other people willingly walked into, where they just ripped us all off. There's things like that are obvious conspiracies out there, and I think we should call those things out. Then there's the people that traffic in nonsense for clicks and for views. Now, I love, dude. Look, Eddie Bravo, you mentioned him. Eddie Bravo, Joe Rogan. Eddie was
Eddie is conspiracy fucking nut job, man.
And Eddie was
whole hog.
Eddie was that way back in those days. Eddie has
that's
never
the whole
changed.
Planet X. It's named Planet X for the Nibiru
10th planet,
whatever, right?
Yeah,
10th planet or whatever, right? 10th planet was X.
Yeah, no, that's who that guy was, right? And I love people. Look, talk about entertaining. Sit around, in a circle with a guy like that and hear these stories. And I mean, that stuff is fun. And there's guys that treat conspiracies like, it's a hobby, right? And have fun with that. I got no problem with those things. There are many, many things that we know our government did, or there's many, many things that other people did. There's networks of bad people out there. There's conspiracies and things that rip people off all the time. I get it. But there are people that took that sudden rise in the consciousness of Charlie, and then as that went down, they jump in with all kinds of nonsense and all kinds of wicked, evil nonsense in order to make themselves a lot of money, in order to get those views and those clicks and get eyeballs on their content. And I've called out Candace Owens super detailed this week.
Yeah, let's do that. And once, this is the thing, I have a list of names. Like I have an anniversary weekend with my girlfriend in Austin this weekend. So it was awesome. It was amazing. However, I thought that your publishing company had delved a little more deeper into me. So when they said they were going to reschedule, I did not expect a rescheduling. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Just trust me. Well, you'll understand only, but it's not going to go that way. It's just one of those, you'll see from my connections who I'm connected to and
I'll pretty much talk to anybody. Yeah.
And I know that. And that's the thing. I absorbed your material on the flight. I downloaded it. So your Scott, is it Scott Jones? Is it Scott Jones? I watched your back-to-back. I watched your Sika Massaquoi. I watched your another one. I watched your tribute to Charlie Kirk. I watched it all. So I just took a list of names and everything. Now,
thank you.
Candace Owens, I have not met. So I will say 100%, I do not know her. I do not like the delivery method of Candace Owens. I do like the thoroughness of Candace Owens, and I do find that time has proven certain things correct. I honestly don't care why, if she's doing that to monetize, because I'll pick what I find great, like the information that actually makes sense, right? That smells right. Sure. So to your point, it's like, it should all be out there, but I do understand your caveat here of people who do rage bait, clickbait, but I could say the same for Cat Tard. I mean,
there's plenty of them.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? So like, and that's the thing. So please continue. And like I said, because I don't know Candace, you have met her. You mentioned you meeting her and all that. So I am absolutely more, I like concede more points to someone, right? Obviously.
And it's not just that I met her. It's also that I, knew the destruction that she left in her wake. And I did not know her. I was not at Turning Point or affiliated with Turning Point when Candace was there. She had already bounced. Now she was still being brought on the speaker circuit and things like that until she started going kind of her own way on a few things that I really disagree with and Charlie disagreed with. But she and Charlie were not close for quite a few years. Now they still had conversation. I mean, she still could reach Charlie and all that stuff, but there's a very different thing for her to claim that, she's sort of the champion of Charlie and she's the only one caring about, what happened to him and his murder. 'Cause that's a lie. And there's a lot of things Candace does not know and is not being shared with Candace. And there's a lot of things that she knows are lies. For instance, some of the things that she knows are lies are the nature of, what Charlie did with his campus events and how he organized those. I mean, she came out and like, there were, tickets. They normally do tickets. They normally, she's saying things that are lies. And I recorded an episode today that I went through those things. Many things she had as different opinions that she's saying because somebody had a different opinion than her that they were lying. And that stuff, man, you just can't let fly when someone is taking your friend's death and a beloved friend's death and using it to get clicks. It's unconscionable.
I agree with you. If that's the perception of how that is, once again, I don't know her, so I can't speak to how you saw whatever the wake. You mentioned PragerU. I have challenged with PragerU. We're going to get into all that stuff too. Obviously, PragerU, Daily Wire, we can talk it all. Okay, so I'm just going to read the list, if I may, of just all the stuff that I just wrote down. Because once again, I'm coming to you as a completely honest actor, I feel that you're we did not know who you were getting set up with, man. I'm just sorry. I have to
love it.
say it. So, are you ready for the list?
Hey, man, I'm a
Here we go.
combat sports athlete, man. I'm
No,
ready to talk to
yo,
anybody.
you can handle this. Oh yeah, no, we're gonna have a good conversation. I'm not worried about that, honestly. Like, the thing is, like, how are we gonna? What do you want to do? Go scorched earth, talk 3 minutes, and be done? Like, where does that advance conversation?
No, it
Like, that
doesn't.
does
It
nothing.
doesn't. I
Right,
love long
exactly.
form. Let's go. Let's have it out.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
much
So
better.
I'm just gonna give you the list. I got Scott Jones on the back-to-back. I've got Candace, Tucker, Ian Carroll, Baron Coleman, Dave Smith, Useful Idiots, Venezuela, Marco Rubio, Eric Menendez, Ben Shapiro, James Lindsay, Pastor Rob McCoy. Embellish about the blood thing. We'll talk. And then McCoy not required to fill a form 990, which I don't know if you heard the recent TP USA rumblings about financial stuff. Once again, just fell in my lap. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
I
well,
just
my
heard
name's
there's
out there
rumors.
because I'm the president
wow.
of one of those organizations.
During that time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, during that time frame. Oh, okay. So please,
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
you
I mean,
look,
I'm
not,
you know,
I know
I'm
you can't
part
share
of the
certain things, right?
990s
Obviously.
myself. I mean, I'm the
Okay,
president of
yeah,
America's
okay.
Turning Point, which is one of the 4 organizations.
Right. So the claim is, and I did you watch the claim last night from this weird viral video that went? And
No,
once
which
again,
one is that? I can't keep up with them. Is this the
yeah, I know that it's a
is
crazy.
this
Look,
the Egyptian plains thing, or are
no,
we
not the
talking about
Egyptian.
something on the
No.
finances?
It's not through Candace. This is total finances. The allegation. Once again, I don't know shit, man. I can only see what people say, right? The allegation is 3 of the 4 legs or arms of the TP branches did not fill out complete Form 990s in time or at all. Only the top TP USA, I think, did. And I'll share you the link after. I'm not. Once again,
Yeah, no. I heard
you're
that.
in this, so
I
share
heard
it.
that
Yeah,
one.
open.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me what's up, man. I don't know anything. I really don't.
Yeah, well, first, some of that's just complete misinformation. Some of it is the weaponization of people's ignorance. People don't understand how 501c3s work. People don't understand how that particular organizational, tax structure works. People, I got hit up on a comment on Rumble the other day, and they're like, Mr. Eddy, if you're the president of America's Turning Point with all the millions you get and the stated purpose of the organization is educational, where did that education go? And it's like, wait, literally, you see the salary part of America's Turning Point was paying Charlie Kirk's salary. He is the educator in chief, and you cannot deny what he was doing. In parts of educating the youth. I mean, that's what he was doing. So literally, you're accusing that organization of not doing its job when it was de facto paying the guy who was doing that job. I mean, just absolutely kind of ridiculous things. But again, what they're doing is they're relying upon people who don't understand business, don't understand taxes, don't understand tax structure, don't understand what 990s and when they have to be filed and all those details. And then they're relying upon that misinformation, right? Or just a bit of truth here and there. Okay. Organizations and
what corporate media does all day. It's what,
well, of course,
our consent has been manufactured for 50, 60 years since the invention of the radio and television.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And I have had my own 501c3, my own 501c4. I've sat on the board of multiple 501c3s and 501c4s over the years. I'm on 3 of them right now as we speak. And they are, fairly high profile. And I am, board members on high stakes things and part of missions that are, beyond me in their scope and the things that are happening and the things that are going on in our world and necessary organizations performing great missions. And what is happening is these folks that are playing this game again for clicks are capitalizing on the stupidity of the average person when it comes to these things. Oh, wow, that sounds good. Ooh, there must have been strange financial dealings. That's why they killed Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's bizarre.
Yeah, I'm absolutely. Like I said, I'm happy to show my ignorance that I came across that. So I wanted you to express.
Yeah, and I'm
what
not giving you a hard time.
I'm not gonna push. No, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna put, and I'm not gonna push back on that once again because I don't know. If I had a thought about something, I'll push back, which will be coming up very shortly, I'm sure.
Yeah, no worries. I love it.
So may I ask, you weren't at the UVU event, I'm assuming. Correct?
I was not. I'm 4.5 hours away, and so I considered driving out there, for that event. And I was here at Charlie's event in Boise. I think it was on April 15th. I was here. I brought people. I was in the VIP controlled area. The security guys are friends of mine. Many of those guys.
Right. I think you mentioned coming up in security and initially, right, with Charlie. That's how.
That's how I originally met Charlie, and that's how I met even like the Prager organization and others. I'm doing it now for others, but I have a consulting group, and I've helped vet and pull in guys that need to, when Charlie started getting spit on in airports all of a sudden, the risk of political violence started rising. And I said 10 plus years ago, quite publicly, over and over again, that what's going to happen, because people started doing the words are violence thing. I'm sure you heard that. The left wing.
I know all the words are violence, silence and violence, and words are violence, and I got it all.
Yeah, when they started saying that, I knew that was a precursor to actual physical violence. Because when you say words are violence, then you can excuse your response of actual violence as self-defense, and that's what our political climate has come to is. You got to punch a Nazi. You got to take these fascists out, right? When what we're talking about is, political disagreements and positional disagreements. Most of us can identify the same problems. Almost all of us are okay. Homelessness is not a good idea, right? We'll identify. Hey, kids shouldn't be hungry. There's things that we'll all say, and then what we have is a very, very different political philosophy on the solutions. And
that's weird. Like, I don't want to call it. I hate that. You just said it's a political philosophy, and what the fuck does politics have to do with humanity anymore?
Well, hang on.
With it, man,
actually, let me explain. Right? Let me explain.
But but you understand what I'm saying, right? I'm not attacking you, but you understand.
No. But let me explain that to you, because politics, in its simplest definition, is just how we organize ourselves. Right. Okay. Right. And so you can't. Although we hate politics, you and I
call it civilization. We can call it that, but it's more civilization than politics. But it's all.
Yeah. But whatever it is, I mean, call it whatever you want. It's like how do we organize ourselves? Okay. And so these people have a policy solution, in my opinion, on the left that sucks. We identify the same problem, but then you have
all those solutions suck.
You have solutions that suck on one end and maybe solutions that suck on the other end. Okay, but then what's effective? I want to know what is effective for a good and orderly society where the most people can have healthy, happy, wonderful lives. And I'm a liberty guy. I want liberty to reign supreme beyond anything else.
And I heard you say that, and that got me screaming at the screen, telling me everything that you're supporting is not liberty-minded, sir. And this is what we'll get to it.
Let's get to that.
Not everything. Come on, man.
No. I know you're being hyperbolic there. Yeah.
The bullshit. It's bullshit, man. We're just talking here. And once again, because I love these types of things. I like not knowing people. I love getting
it's more fun
to know people. This is the most beautiful fun. So thank you, first of all, for just interacting with this, because I don't get to do this in this way very often. So I'd like to just pivot to that. So I'd like to go to Rob McCoy for a second.
Sure.
And it's going to be a weird pivot, but I want to give you allowance in the grace, because once again, I don't attack without knowing. I don't attack without knowing. That's ridiculous. I have to have bullets. I have to have bullets in my chamber for even to do it right. So Rob McCoy, you mentioned the embellish thing about blood. Remember, Mikey had blood all over.
Yeah, and I actually got some more information on that since, but let's go.
Okay. This is my only thing I say. If Mikey had a drop of blood on him, Rob McCoy's embellishment makes complete sense. But Mikey did not have a drop of blood on him, did he? from our understanding.
I actually today,
From the video that I see.
Yeah. So we only see kind of like initial. We don't see the aftermath
Yep.
of Charlie.
Well, we do, and Mikey's nowhere near the car and as they drive away. So Mikey's not anywhere near.
But
okay,
there was a shit ton of blood. Can I swear on this program?
Oh yeah.
Okay. There was a shit ton of blood. I mean, this is a carotid artery, right?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
I'm very familiar with it.
And blood exploded from him. I mean, it was hard for me to watch. I watched it because I wanted to know what happened. You know, I did a quick assessment myself, and I thought, oh man, and I was praying beyond praying that he survived that. But I immediately thought, oof, that's it, right? So Mikey, my understanding is he got blood on him afterwards in cleaning up and grabbing Charlie's things and other things like that. That's my understanding. Okay. Now I was corrected in that. I was corrected in that by Siaka, who had conversations. And we just recorded that show today. He had conversations with other people after the fact, right? But the embellishment, let's call it. And I look, I give room and grace for a fog of war, for chaos, for when you're standing on stage, even as a pastor. I mean, God bless those guys. I'm a preacher's kid, right? I know pastors, and sometimes you can
still
embellish.
Christian? Wow, that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Hey, man, you go through the fire.
Shocking, my friend.
Yeah, but I give allowances for people to say dumb things and to embellish things and say things that they shouldn't have said, and for Candace and all that, what she's leapt to is, oh well, Rob McCoy was in on it. I mean, she literally has taken some of the things that Rob said, and the fact that his father was in the Navy. And
I'm very familiar with his background.
Yeah. And she's taken that to then, oh, well, he must have had Charlie killed. He must have been part of this thing. Oh, let's look into all the craziness there. And it's absurd.
Yeah. And I do. And I actually have issue with people who embellish, especially when they're world leaders, pastors, and things like that. Because I get it. I understand the sales pitch. Right, it's the sales pitch of the religion, right? Let's just kid ourselves. I mean, you got to sell it. I mean,
I mean, and I'm sure
right?
you and I, we'll do this 10 times. We can get in the religious thing in a deep way whenever you want. I'll come back on. Just that I'll tell you that right now.
I would like to come on your show because I think you find my story as interesting.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll make that happen.
But seriously, no, yeah.
But anyway, you had more with Rob.
Yeah. No. So I once again, this is out of grace, but I have to ask these questions because this
and you can, man, and you don't even need a preamble. I'll answer anything.
I understand that. It's just like I'm a little bit newer at this than I'd like to be. I didn't feel prepared for this, to be honest. I've been up for 4 nights trying to think how to do this. So okay, so Rob, you were on with Scott Jones. I'm not going to clip. I have clips set up. I'm not here to play gotcha in what you said. I'd like you to tell me what you said. So talk about, we're going to talk. I talked to a guy. We've got obviously pedophilia and pederast. Is that correct? Those are the two we're talking about. Like a 17-year-old who's not 18 is obviously you're looking differently than a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, whatever.
Yeah. I'm talking there's a different issue there. Right. Neither one is something that I would ever endorse in a million years.
Right. Now, one thing I always said is like, me, and I think you would have done this, and I can't speak for you, but I think when I was in college, I met a 16-year-old who looked very overdeveloped. And when I approached her, I said, excuse me, how old are you? Because that's the first freaking question you ask, man.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Especially if you don't know. I mean, yeah.
So, right. And you said 18's arbitrary, right? And I agree with you. 18's arbitrary, and 18 should be because it's the same age that our government brainwashes us to die for our country, for men. So I think if that's the age for us to die for our country, then happily that should be the age of consent for women to, you know what I mean, in that respect. But you spoke about, so I want to be clear that initially I thought that was like, I know they're different, but it is still
it's a different pathology. I think they're both a pathology.
But, right, but it's still illegal per the social contracts.
For sure. Even though in like 30 states, I think
16's the age, just so you know. So I'm not.
Well,
this is
and
age
hey,
right
if
kind
you're
of stuff.
gay, and in California, you can have a
14, I
massive
think, right?
difference. Yeah, I mean, it's disgusting. You know,
Oh, and I'll give you a worse one. Oh, good.
no, I mean, that's Scott Wiener is the guy that put
Yep.
that in place. I mean, you know, which is disgusting.
And California AB 55. I work with people from Perk, Amy Bond. You might know
I
them.
know Amy. Yeah.
But you know Amy. Oh,
I know
excellent. That's
Amy.
great. She is amazing. I did a podcast with her 2 years ago.
Yeah, I love Amy.
At the first Freedom Fest. And obviously, you know about the AB 55, where you're forced to not tell the parents the kids transitioning. It's like, what?
It's horrible.
What? How? It's
Yeah, no, I
this
spoke
is
out against
off.
all that stuff. I had Amy on my show before, but Amy and I were friends.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, before
Oh,
that.
nice. If you see her, tell her I said hi, because I really had such an enjoyable time. I saw her the last 2 Freedom Fests. So what I'd like to do is just pedophilia wise, let's talk what is prepubescent for you. Let's say where would your average age of that? Is it just puberty? Is that
Well, wait. I mean, prepubescent has a definition. Is
right? No, I
prior
just
to
mean,
puberty.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what do you mean?
Like your pederast thing, right? Obviously, you're saying the pathology between someone looking at a 17-year-old because she's developed, because she's gone through puberty, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, a 17-year-old. Okay, let's say it's 17 and 364 days, right? It looks like and has the capacity of a woman. Okay, now. If you are attracted to that as a older man and that is your thing, okay, there is something I think deeply wrong with you, because that person has nothing in common with a 30-year-old, or I mean, whatever the number is. So that, but that is a distinctly different sexual attraction and pathology than someone who wants a child. Okay. That,
and you talked about it with the billionaires, right?
Yeah,
and that's
I mean, that's disgusting.
The last thing these people can do is destroy purity.
Correct.
The one pure thing that's left is a child.
I think it's. I mean, look,
pure
man. You are maybe an atheist or anti-theist or whatever you wanted to call it, but I believe in demonic influences, and I think that there is demonic influences in this world that will encourage guys like that to go down those paths. I mean, I think that there is absolute evil, and guys that do that stuff and are involved in those things should be, hung, should be, killed. I mean, I do not have any mercy for people who engage in those things.
Cool. I'd like to share this. The anti-theist has nothing to do with whether I have faith or not. What anti-theist means, and I think it's changed over time, but anti-theist to me is I oppose the institutionalization of faith through middlemen, because basically it's the government for religion or for faith. And I think that all gets corrupted at all times. Institutionalizations of anything get corrupted.
Sure.
And that's where I think
Agreed.
a lot of businesses are at that. I think a lot of organizations are there.
Oh, I would
that
agree
can
with
happen.
you.
I think, right. So that's where I'm anti-theist, if that makes sense. You have faith.
Understand.
I absolutely admire you. You have the faith of what you think it is. Also, I think Christianity is misinterpreted, but that doesn't mean anything. We all misinterpret ourselves because we all have interpretations. So,
well, I think we could probably go deep
means.
on that on another show, and I would be happy to do that.
Totally. And it would, I think it would absolutely be amazing, to be honest with you, Bryce. And you know what? And another thing, I keep trying to not call you Eddie, because you look like an Eddie. And you just look like an Eddie. Do people like accidentally call you Eddie instead of Brian? Obviously, maybe.
No, sure, all the time, and of course, but yeah. I mean, I don't mind. You can call me by my last name, my first name, whatever. That's what happens when you have two last names. But yeah, no stress whatsoever.
If it's accidental, I promise you. So
don't even worry.
I 100% agree with Mike. Now,
okay, so we were on Rob.
I'm not here to pin you. But Liberty Station came up a week ago.
Sure.
And Pastor Rob had Tom Simino on. Are you familiar with this episode?
I'm 100% familiar with it. It's something that I got dragged into and stained by, and it pissed me off.
Thank you. That's why I want to give you this. This is what I'm saying. Like,
sure,
I'm the right person to have this like initial thing, because it's like, I'm not here to attack you, man. I'm here to let you tell me what it is. So you run Liberty Station, or it's part of the, is it part of Salem? How what is Liberty Station, if you could?
Okay, yeah. So Rob and I, so during the COVID, Rob and Godspeak Church, Rob stayed open, and kind of stood
he was
against the government.
There was a lot of bravery there.
Fought the government and won.
Yep,
and
Thousand Oaks mayor, correct? Right.
Yep. He was Thousand Oaks mayor. He resigned from the city council and stayed open and fought the government. And during that time, he was doing a 7-day-a-week live stream in the evenings. At first, it looked like an ISIS beheading video, super low tech. And it was just him letting people know what was going on, right? And having people up there. He'd have doctors and guests and things like that. And I was helping him to curate and bring in some of those guests. I had a talent for that. I, kind of know everybody. I was able to pull people up. That was a fun thing for me. And I would be on a regular basis. And so that live stream ended up, Rob got invited to go audition to replace Frank Sontag, who's a friend of ours, when he left his regular radio gig. So he and I went out there and, auditioned through, it was a Salem station to replace Frank Sontag. And that was never going to happen. Rob didn't want a daily show where he had to be where he needed to be and that kind of thing. And also the station manager at the time did not like the idea of pastors being involved in politics and was predisposed against Rob and wasn't going to give him an opportunity to really do that show anyway. Well, I went over that guy's head because I had relationships at Salem and went to the national guys and proposed, hey, what if we do a podcast? And Rob loved that idea. It took months to, get through legal and do that kind of thing because they were involved in doing movies at the time that were being released. And so we got a podcast gig, which Rob branded as Liberty Station. And I was Rob's producer and sidekick for those Liberty Station episodes. We did a few episodes. We did, I think, 4, and Rob went on vacation and went on a trip to Israel, back to back, and came back and said, you know what, my heart's not in this. This is your thing. Take it over. And so I ran it as Liberty Station, during that time, and then later on rebranded it to the Bryce Eddy Show. Which as it started to do well,
that would explain the confusion, man. Trying to find the stuff and how it changed. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And now
I appreciate the
so
coloring in the lines.
Yeah. So Tom Semino, my limited knowledge of that is the same thing that everybody else knows. He had been a member of that church after serving, those years. He was married. He had an 8-year-old daughter at the time. He was not in church leadership, but there were home groups listed on the website and an account that was an Antifa account that hated Rob, did an OSINT search on everybody that was on the website across the entire kind of Godspeak thing. So if you were the leader of a home group, which only meant that you were opening your home for this, every other week or once a monthly, depending on the home group, place where, families would gather and, you do the, it's a home Bible study kind of thing. Right. And so Tom Semino, who to this day, I have still never, ever, ever met. I've never shaken his hand, never been introduced to him, never met him. So
and that's why we're talking about it this way.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not like you son of, whatever.
No. And by the way, okay, so I learned at the same time that the guy who outed during that OSINT search just to rip Rob a new one, and they lied and said that he's on church staff and all of that sort of stuff, right? Because they know he wasn't, because I corrected it in real time at the time. And because I got attacked viciously. Rob didn't pay any attention to it. He's like, oh, who cares, those guys, right? He thought this guy was a nice guy, did not know. I mean, I think Rob handled it poorly. I mean, I at the time felt that way and told him that. If I had taken down that episode, Bryce is engaging in a cover-up. So I was in a no-win
I agree.
situation.
By the way,
yeah,
Pastor Rob has been pulling episodes live while like people like Baron Coleman are actually watching. This is not a joke.
I saw that.
And look,
I saw that the
once
other
again,
day. And
dude,
I still
once again,
couldn't
we're talking,
figure
and
out
I'm
what,
like still on the outside.
yeah.
Right.
I still couldn't figure out the controversy of what Rob said in that episode. I mean, I
Oh, I
listened.
can speak to it. It's basically speaking that Christians are the bitches of the Jews.
Yeah, that's not what
and
he
I'm
said.
not. Look, let me not.
That's a stupid mischaracterization of
First
any
of all,
it.
yeah, and I also think that the characterization from the side that that is aligned is also reductionist in Dave Smith's assessment of I just don't want to see dead kids. But we'll get there.
Yeah, we will get
totally
there.
different thing. I want to just with Liberty Station.
Yeah, so anyway,
this episode happens now. This is just
so
my
I wasn't
opinion,
there for that, as you know.
Exactly right.
And
you are not connected to that episode in any way. I want to put this down for to protect, for your
and at the end of the day, man, I'll defend myself for the things that I've done is wrong. Plenty of things that I've done is wrong. I would have had a different view than Rob on that. I would have treated that thing very, very differently. I would have not allowed, and it was an oversight. Not everybody knew about that guy's past, right? Now, to my knowledge, I mean, look, that the way it was, like, families are welcome, 8 and up. It's because the guy he was married and had an 8-year-old daughter. Okay. And really sad for that.
The conviction was an 8-year-old girl. So it's kind of weird, right?
Man,
which is just odd, right?
I feel totally unsettled by all of that. I mean, my view on those things, I do not believe in rehabilitation for those people. What I believe in is very stiff consequences. Okay. And I got a very harsh view of that. I do not believe that it is possible for you to have look, maybe it is. I'm not God. I cannot judge on this, but I do not believe that there is a shifting. If that is your sexual appetite, and if that's what you have done, that's a twisting of a sexual appetite that I don't know can be remedied. I don't know that can be changed in someone. So for life, let's say he has come to the faith, apologize, all those sort of things. The consequences forever is that you don't get to engage in normal things. I would have not allowed a home group. And by the way,
I wanted you to say that. I know exactly that you would say that, because this is the thing. Has nothing to do with Christianity, faith, anything. There are redemption. You can redeem yourself, but anything with a child disqualifies you from certain things going forward.
Correct.
You can serve Christ in the kitchen. Okay.
Correct.
As far as,
and I think that was
there's other ways to do it. Right.
I think that was a severe lack in judgment or oversight, because Rob didn't run everything. I'm not saying that even Rob was aware that there was a home group with that guy. I don't really know those facts.
Oh, he did. Well, that's the thing, if I may. Well, this is the thing. This is where I think the mistake was. Why did Rob make this thing to address it, to defend it? He doesn't mention it, and 2 seconds later, a whole new story comes in.
No, I was not.
It would never been on the radar if he didn't do that podcast.
I was not in favor of that, and that was not done at my behest, my advice.
I want to be
and at that time, look, that studio was owned by him, that by the church, rather, but controlled by him. That was, I had I had the access to the studio. I by default became the person that used the studio more than anybody else, because we had that contractual obligation. I had to do 4 episodes a week. And that thing followed me and pissed me off every single day, because it didn't matter. There's a photo that they show of him in the foreground and me in the background at an event. Right. I still didn't know who he was. I'd never met him before. And they're like, here he is, buddies with this guy. Literally, this guy's 20 people apart from me. But the way that they show this, they freeze the video, and there's Bryce in the background with my sunglasses on, and there's this guy. Oh, here he is. And it was just to try to stain us as a church for staying open during COVID, and for our association with Trump and Charlie and all those sort of things. And it was losers that were doing that stuff. And it's still to this day. I mean, it's one of those things I just, let go. These guys are idiots. But
this is the thing, like the Liberty Station thing. I get it. Like I'll happily, if you can connect with Rob, I'd be happy to talk with Rob. I'd be happy to talk with Tom. But the whole point is, I didn't want you to be implicated, because you were.
Yeah.
Because during the podcast, he says Super Eddie, right? And he's speaking, he says Eddie Bryce been holding the fort down and all this stuff. And once again, this connected you in a way that it's not. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
why am I'm not going to serve the sins of my person that I break bread with. Okay.
No, and look, I love Rob. Rob makes
Yeah.
errors in a judgment. People do all the
We all-
time.
we're
Rob's not pro
fallible.
pedophilia or anything like that. I don't, but he should not have. He should not have allowed Tom to not just be on that, because I just don't think it's wise. But also, he allowed Tom to say things that if Rob had read the court transcripts and things, he might have looked at all that stuff a lot differently. And
I
yeah.
did watch it. Its entirety. So.
Yeah, and I was very disappointed in that. Well, and by the way, I love Rob. This is not an attack on Rob. He's an imperfect
not
guy,
at all.
but he was uniquely made for the time that we were in.
Hey, let's play the Oscar Wilde, man. Let's just do it. A true friend stabs you in the front. This is how it works, man. That's how we should treat everything, man. If you can't come to your friend and say you fucked up,
yeah,
you know what I mean. You gotta tell or whatever, and same thing.
Yep.
Come to them and say I fucked up, right? It's the same thing. It's both sides of that. So, all right. So thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I wanted to give you that opportunity because I could only imagine the smear, because Candace mentioned it, obviously Tom mentioned it, or Rob mentioned it on the actual podcast. So once again, the names are coming. So I'd like to totally skip somewhere else. We're going to go crazy place. Okay. I live in Phoenix, so I have a weird podcast, and I decided to apply for AmFest media coverage in 2024. And lo and behold, you guys were so gracious, and it was free, for goodness sakes. Oh my gosh, what an experience. But palpable shift in the world. You became the woke right. And I say you, let me be collective you, is that all the booths reeked of the woke right that people like myself are actually being accused of being. So I saw James Lindsay. You mentioned James Lindsay on a podcast.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
You're good friends with him. That's good. And I unfortunately found that I've had an interesting interaction with James, and afterward it got smoothed over, and then something happened on the other side again, and then when I saw him face to face, it was smoothed over again because let me play the clip. I was at Freedom Fest 2025. James, I got to ask a question. They showed his documentary, and let me premise, the woke left shit that he did is amazing. Amazing. So phenomenal. You're good friends with him. Before I send the clip, do you mind sharing your friendship first of all, and then that's probably the woke left stuff that you kind of got connected with him, right? Like how you befriended each other, I would assume.
I mean, I followed him when he was doing those fake scientific papers back in the day and was going on Adam Carolla. I thought, who is this guy? This is amazing. I go, what an epic troll that they're doing on the scientific community. I knew this stuff was full of crap, and there you go. And so I was a longtime follower of him. He came to speak at the church, as an atheist at the time. Talking about what was going on with the communists and, the kind of shift in the world with the woke left and everything. And I mean, I met him then, and then, got to see him at, all the events and all the things. And, we ended up just kind of naturally hanging out. I told him he's a colossal nerd and I loved him. And we would have a blast, he's an awesome dude, and he proves to be right over and over again. And he will say what he needs to say at great cost on a regular basis, suffer greatly. And then it seems to come back around because he ends up being proven right more often than he is wrong. And I appreciate a guy who stands like that and will take great risks to say what he truly believes. And so, yeah, so
I admire that too,
friends.
but I admire that too. But when after the question, and I'll share it. But like I said, after the question, I found him not very authentic, because you talk about authenticity. I didn't get that after speaking, because I tried, I was obviously you'll see it. Let me play the clip. We'll just go from there. It'll be short, man. It's nothing too crazy. I'm not good at this stuff, so let me just pull it up. All right.
Woke left, woke right. May I ask James, why has there been a recent push to conflate the general anti-war movement with this new woke right label?
There's no attempt to conflate the general anti-war movement with that. You're the victim of a very fine people hoax.
So this is my stance, if I may. I'm happy to
Sure.
lay it out. I'm not up for supporting Ukraine. I'm a Scott Horton. I'm a Hortoneer. Okay, so I know Scott Horton. I've did an 8-book review on his book Provoked. Are you familiar with his book?
I'm not. I mean, I've heard
Ukraine?
of it, but I've not read it. Or
Scott Horton did a 10.5-hour podcast with Lex Freeman. He's constantly on Piers Morgan, and he talks about influence of other people and everything. Okay, so this is where I'm saying James Lindsay goes woke left, woke right. I mean, he took a trip to Israel recently as well. But this is the thing.
He and I are going to talk about it, I think, next week.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh my gosh, I can't wait, because I have done 3 podcasts on the woke right, and I did one right after AmFest, and I said the MAGA crowd are becoming the woke right.
Some of them are,
and it is through Israel. And it is because any criticism of the nation state of Israel is conflated with anti-Semitism from a very strict group of people, right? A certain specific sect of people at all times. Would you agree with that assessment?
No, not entirely. I think it's a little bit more subtle.
Not entirely.
Okay. Yeah. So I think there's people.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, see, these things are complex. Okay. Here's how I talk about the woke left and the woke right. Okay. I mentioned earlier that I'm a liberty guy. I want us to be free. I want maximum liberty within the bounds of reason, right? Meaning that we have to have government structure. I'm not an anarchist. I'm not a pure libertarian. I understand the arguments, but I don't think that they, really hold water. But I think that I want to have maximum liberty and freedom. I don't want to have kicked out the woke left to have some right-wing version of it using the same Marxist tactics to get there. I don't want those guys to be in charge either. I want the smallest form of government to reign supreme. The individual, self-government, family, smallest form of government, and then on up into community and city and state and federal government, right?
Subsidiarity is what you're going to talk about, and I totally understand that 100%.
Yeah. So what you have now are people, and this exists inside MAGA and outside MAGA. This exists on the people who are pro-Israel, and they exist on the people who are anti-Israel, where they want to now control us. They want to put in, whether it's a theocracy or some kind of other institutional or state control of things based upon what they deem right-wing principles. I don't want that to exist. I don't want to have thrown out one to surrender to the other. I want us to have as much liberty as possible. Does that make sense in that simplest form?
It does, and unfortunately, and I hope we do talk about this further, but you say that and everything not everything, this is so hyperbolic, stupid. Things you support spit in the face of liberty, man.
Okay,
and
well,
I'll tell you, the order, the law and order, the National Guard going in thinking you need law and order in these cities. This is my opinion, if I may. I'm going to lay it back from like a pattern perspective. I voted Republican since 1992. That was the first time I could vote. I voted for Bush, the first Bush.
Same here, by the way.
Oh, cool, man. We're probably almost the same. I was born 74.
I'm 74.
What month?
August.
Okay, I'm September. So cool. We're right next to each other.
We're right there.
All right, you're a little older than me, man. Now you got the fallacy of age on me, or wisdom. All right.
Yes, I beat you by a month.
Yeah, and so I voted Republican, elephant all the way through. I enlisted in the Army in 17. I had a "Hey Saddam, this Scuds for You" t-shirt. When gas went, this, because when gas went from 90 cents to $1.50 because of the war, it went up when we were 16 driving, 1990 Kuwait, right?
That's right.
So I know this whole this is the whole thing. So then I looked at it, and and then obviously So I went through, I voted Trump 16 and 20. And this is the first time ever in the history of my life, and it's been a weird fire hose moment. I voted NOTA. I walked into the booth and I voted none of the above. And I feel so good about that because I thought that what was being preached was just not going to be fulfilled. And I'm finding a little of that happening. Now, that's nuanced too, right? Because I think pride in America has certainly increased. The trans shit is gone.
Yeah, I think there's been a tremendous vibe shift that largely Trump and our crowd is responsible for. We're returning to some kind of semblance.
PPUSA single-handedly is responsible. But there's also a left them. So like you talk about a coalition and you don't have it. You have MAGA people and you have the left that left them. And that's actually like James Lindsay's and Tulsi Gabbard's and the RFKs. And you know what I mean? So it's a real interesting thing. And that's, you talked about Civil War. So I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but the Civil War, I agree with you. There's not a Civil War. Those are just not your people, actually. You know what I mean? In that context, have you thought about it from that perspective? They were really actually not technically your group anyway. They just got abandoned by the shit progressives.
Yeah, the Overton window moved too far for those people, and so they're like, "Hey, look, I feel more at home in this company than others." But yeah, I mean, I think liberals, right, classical liberals and conservatives can, you know, generally get along, and I think we should. And those and we could make great neighbors. The far left and also the far right, although I think that's a tiny sliver of people. The far left is a much bigger crowd. We can't get along with those folks. I mean, those folks do not believe in any real American values. They literally are pushing us down the road of communism. They don't have they don't have their ideas are not based in any kind of maturity or reality. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. But they're just the useful idiots that I believe the globalists have used to fracture, dismantle, divide us. And they're doing the same thing with the MAGA coalition, right? Because they don't want an Elon Musk and a Donald Trump to get along. They don't want Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. to you know, be in this mix either. So they have to have this division, and they're using, you know, Jews right now to be that divide. They're using other things right now to be that divide. They're using these conspiracy theorists to be that divide. That's why a lot of these folks are being rewarded by financial money from our foreign adversaries and other people, shadowy people, in order to fracture what was a very united group of people when Donald Trump got elected.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And this is the other side of it. So through that election stuff, I enlisted at 17, but I had a really bad car accident at 13. And I think that's what we'll talk about in a future episode because it did stuff. But I just had a leg that was 3/4 inch shorter. So I failed the physical on like the last guy. And God damn it, I wanted to fight for this country, man. You have no idea. There's nothing like, you know, having your heart broken by your country when you start exposing like real things. And let's be honest, how many conspiracies just needed time?
Oh, a bunch of them. I mean,
true,
man,
right?
And
that's all I'm saying,
government
right?
is run by people. And, you know, if you have the Christian worldview I have, people are filled with sin and have some of their own, evil desires and proclivies that, you know, I mean, half the people that are in government, I mean, I've said for years, I'm suspicious of the people who want to be in the I mean, half is a low number. I'm suspicious of the people who want to be HOA. You know, I mean, if you have a desire to do those things,
if you want power, if you want it, get the fuck out of my face.
There's something about you that I generally don't trust. And I know a lot of politicians that I can call right now. I know congressmen that I can call right now. And, you know, people
I really
who
think I can get you on my side, man. I really think. And that's not
but
my
I can
side.
count.
Oh, first of all, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I can count on my hand the number of people in Congress that I trust. I mean, you know, I'm buddies.
I mean, can you really trust anyone? Do you really know? Like, honestly, unless you know them, right? Like,
well, I mean, I believe that, you know, Thomas Massey is an honest actor. You know, this guy is not beholden.
I'm playing him next, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Massey isn't beholden to anyone. He lives, off the grid, in the middle of nowhere, and has a very solid view of like, this is who I am, kind of a thing. And he's a guy who cannot be bought. And so there's guys like that exist. There's guys that no matter what, they are going to be themselves. And sometimes, that gets them in trouble. I mean, that's, he's opposing all of, things that Trump doesn't want him to oppose, which is putting him at odds with him. Trump is a little bit of a gangster, and I get it. I just got off of, by the way, and I'll make a recommendation to you and your audience. I just finished listening to the 6th episode of Patrick Bet-David, PBD's podcast, The Mafia States of America. And it is a excellent podcast. And it goes off the hook a few times there. And so if you want to cleanse a palate cleanser from all this stuff, it's a good one to listen to. But I mean, there's like with Trump and others, and Trump's not the only politician that's this way, where you do what I say, like it's that, Godfather rule, right? You do what I say and do not question it, kind of a thing. And there's guys that are going to march to the beat of their own drum and their own conscience. And, no matter what information they have, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah. And so I hope we're already an hour in. It's time work, man. I just know it. All right. So let's do that. So the Trump, it's a perfect, especially since you met and introduced Massey. I'm trying to connect it, because I am talking about, I do think there are influences. Just because influences happen to be with people doesn't mean it's all the, you know what I mean?
Right.
We can play the nuance game. So I'm not asking you to condemn. Like, I understand the thing with Pastor Rob. I wanted you to just explain your distance from that show, that it wasn't really connected to you in any way. I won't do what Ben Shapiro did to Megyn Kelly, to be honest. I thought that was a douchebag shit move, trying to get him to condemn her for a lie he said. It was a complete lie. Absolute lie. I know it because I watched the entire thing. But I don't want to do that. So Trump recently posted, the first time I met Thomas Massey, I was at Freedom Fest 24, and it was like 6 a.m. And I'll explain the ding, but I got a ding to go to the back of the room. No idea, just something in my head. Controller, someone from the simulation put it in my head to go to the back of the room. I walked to the back of the room, and Thomas Massey's just entering. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna lie, because Thomas Massey just on a base is a North Star, right? He's at least the North Star you start at to look to see where you're, you might have your opinion and go, okay, what does he think, and then see how it jives or something, right? I bounce a lot of ideas through his perspective. So I walk up to him, and the first thing I say, Rhonda had just passed 2 weeks before or something. First thing I said, sir, I'm condolences for your wife. He looked at me, and to your point, man, you want to talk authentic. He looked at me and said, I cried all night in the hotel room, so I wouldn't cry today. It's like, and he still went to this thing for people, for liberty, right? It was for the message. And
yeah,
I can't imagine that strength, right? So at that event, he's in front of Debt Badge. Are you familiar with the Debt Badge people?
Mm-mm.
Oh, so there's this thing called Debt Badge, and
yeah. I'm sorry,
yeah,
I heard that differently than you said it. Yeah.
Anyway, Thomas Massey carries one around on him.
Yes.
Basically, we just crested 38 trillion in debt. So, all right. So here's the Thomas Massey clip that I was fortunate to have at Freedom Fest 24, and I just like your thoughts on it. Once again, the assessment for me. I do think that there is a deeply infiltrated group of people in our country. And I think it's the continuation of government. To your point, you said it's not just Mossad. You're right. It's not just Mossad. They're all in it. The continuation of government is a lower level.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in the evil of the bureaucracy. I believe in the deep state. Yeah. That exists. I mean, I'll tell you how it exists. I mean, it's why I'm against term limits, by the way. Term limits.
Term limits could make it worse.
Term limits would make it worse, and this is sort of a controversial opinion that I have that goes in the face of some of the traditional conservative talking points. But I remember, I'm good buddies with Madison Cawthorn. He comes out here and visits me, and he
Okay.
came to my daughter's
Excuse
wedding.
me. Before I overspeak, is that the gentleman in the wheelchair? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. And he was the one who got pulled into the weird stuff, and then he exposed the weird stuff, which is what got him in trouble with the weird stuff, right? It's kind of like the guy who exposes it is a guy who goes to jail, right? Or whatever.
Yeah, he got outed and kicked out because he was saying that, hey, they have weird sexual parties and different things, and I've been invited to these things, and he did it on my other buddy John Lovell's podcast. Who spent 4 days staying at my house a couple of years ago, and cool. John and I are friends. Warrior Poet Society, shout out to him, he's an amazing guy. But Madison exposes some of that stuff on his podcast, and then Kevin McCarthy and everybody primary him. They redistrict just to get him out of power. Because he exposed the dark kind of underbelly of those people that he calls the district of criminals. That's been Madison's thing. And so I remember having this conversation with him because of stuff that he told me, and he and I debated because he was still kind of a term limits guy. And I said, Madison, you told me what it's like when you come in as a freshman congressman, and what it's like every year. The staffers run things, and those staffers jump from congressional office to congressional office, and they're there forever. And those people just bounce around, and permanent Washington and the deep state really do run things, and they tell those guys how to vote. And most of those guys are not going to be reading those briefs beyond like, well, I guess we're doing this. And there's very few kind of seasoned power individuals, but everybody else just does what they're told. And most of what they're told is by the bureaucrats that are there forever. And so if you create term limits, you never have an opportunity to really, gain power or control. Now, my solution to that would be break up DC. Do not have the federal government concentrated in DC. Have them wherever. I mean, have the Department of Agriculture outside of DC. Have those departments be where in the country those things exist. I like that. It would break up the lobbyists. It wouldn't have that.
I'll go further and just say it should all just go away. Well, we just need to reduce it all. But yeah,
I'm a proponent of that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're not obviously we can always talk COVID, but basically the needs of Lincoln, Nebraska in COVID are not the needs of New York City during COVID. Like there's just two different things. So
what does a guy in New York, what does a guy sitting in New York or sitting in DC, understand? I mean, that's why we have the Electoral College. Right. Because the Electoral College allowed people who have interest in those states to have at least somewhat of a voice. Otherwise, just the population centers around the country would decide everything for everybody else. And those folks, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what the needs of farmers are. And so we've done the same thing by concentrating everything in DC, and we need to break up the cabal.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. I mean, it's just like I said, it's so interesting how we could watch something and be like, last night, I'll be honest, I'm worked up going, how are we going to talk? Because I'm passionate. Fire hose for me, sir. Like I said, I'm a grade A neocon. And I'll say this is the thing. Let's take one of each side, right? I'll criticize Chuck Schumer, to your point. Chuck Schumer did not vote for the big, beautiful bill. He got 6 people who have no political aspirations down the road, or not for 4 or 6 years, or they're retiring to vote. So but he orchestrated it. He clearly gave them the green light to vote, right? But he can say, I didn't vote for it, right? That's the bullshit.
I stood on principle.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other side is Tim Burchett. And I'm going to call out Tim Burchett because I spoke with gentleman Brent Freeman, who's in Tennessee. And Tim Burchett made that bullshit unanimous consent vote on the Epstein thing, because the unanimous consent vote is for unanimous consent on things that are not controversial. So the second one it destroyed it. So he can blame the Democrats for shutting it down. And that's just utter bullshit to me.
Yeah.
So That's one of each side, right?
There
So
you go.
I'm happy to call it, right?
Oh,
So
listen, I want to
I'm
call balls and
really enjoying it.
strikes. You know,
Yeah,
I
absolutely. And
mean,
I
look,
think
I'm
you
not
are.
a
And
mindless.
you've been
Yeah,
completely open and transparent with me and authentic. To be completely honest, I find this conversation completely refreshing. So
yeah,
I'm
good.
just grateful for it.
Well, these are healthy.
So they are healthy. All right. So where are we going from here, sir? Do you have any topics, anything you wanted to bring up? Because, your people reached out. Do you have a project or anything that's
No,
upcoming?
I don't, man. I mean, you had a list. I don't mind going
Yeah.
down it. Look,
All right.
my desire, and the reason that my people, I just gave them instructions is, get me in front of people that aren't entirely in the same echo chamber, right? I want to have more vibrant conversations with people that I may disagree with, and they've got me on some liberal shows, which is still very, very hard to do because the left's ideas
How can
suck.
you even do those? I
Um,
can't. I mean, I could not even imagine having a conversation with a Destiny, to be honest. I
oh
honestly
well,
just don't even.
I would love to debate Destiny.
I mean, yeah,
I think
don't.
that guy.
No, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good, good,
No, I was
good.
going to say
Please. Sure.
Dean Withers, Parker Get a Job, Destiny, all those guys aggressively in an Adderall fueled pace, aggressively advocate for shit ideas. That's all they do, and they think that they're dunking on people because they just talk fast. But they've got nothing but memorized stupidity and bullet points about things. And you watched it when Dean Withers or Parker was trying to get one over on Charlie when Charlie went on Jubilee. But Destiny is one of the worst actors of them all, I think, because he's not. Most of those guys, I don't know how authentic they really are. But they only just aggressively advocate for their position, so it's like the faster I talk, the more volume I bring, the more I just, point at you and call you an idiot, the better my point is going to be. And that's not the way arguments work. That's not the way, a fight works. I mean, it's the calm guys that bring the ideas that win. And those guys have shit ideas.
I totally agree. I heard one of the weirdest axioms, and I'm still trying to figure out.
And by the
whether
way,
it's true or
why are
not,
those
like in
guys?
my
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say. I apologize. By the way,
No, go.
why
I'm
do
jumping
all
in.
those dudes look effeminate?
Yeah, I get it.
Every
I
single one of them look weak
well that.
physically.
Oh, by the way, I think that's a deep state agenda too. By the way, I think
I do too.
I think the trends was actually pushed. The
Yeah, the early
SSRIs.
andropause
If you
effect.
look at the shootings, the gun-free zones, I think they're a sub MK Ultra thing. And I don't know if you're familiar with MK Ultra, but
I am sure.
there's a way to do it without doing it, and you could just get it with kids. You get kids on the spectrum.
Yep.
To buy into an idea, and they don't let the bone go. They just don't. That is, it's just how that person is wired. And if you can get them on that bone, they won't let go.
Yeah. But all of them are super effeminate, have very weak personas, feminine hand gestures. I mean, it's really bizarre, especially, you and I being Gen Xers. I mean, it's wild. But I do think it's low testosterone, early andropause effect. It's, all kinds of toxicity and other things that they've, let into our environment. But it's sad to see that.
I resemble that remark. Let's talk men's health for a second.
Sure.
I had a bad car accident at 13. It's something we'll talk about, I think, in a future podcast. I gained 70 pounds in 2 years that year. I graduated high school at 215. I'm only 5'8". So graduated high school at 215, graduated college 235. I ballooned all the way up to 315 pounds.
Wow.
Over that time. I am now 195. Now, I was like 247 right before COVID happened. 2020, I was in Belize the week before COVID. I was in Vegas both during the Vegas shooting and when they shut it down for COVID. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know how I was in both at the same, both of those events. But anyway, so I was like 218, probably 220, just at that weight. And I'm like, this COVID thing's weird, but I am not vaxxed. Thank goodness. And I'm like, I got to figure this out. I'm type 2 diabetic too. So I'm like, okay, I know there's a problem here. So first of all, let's open up all our windows. Secondly, what am I going to do about blood sugar? How am I going to manage this shit? This is what we got to do, right?
Good for
So
you.
I'm managing as best I can. I just can't get the blood sugar down. It's like right at that cusp, right at that cusp. And then I'm like, you know what? I haven't really checked my hormone levels. I'll go in, right? So I'm sure I don't know if you do TRT or if you
I do
if you
now, yeah.
naturally, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I mean,
And then
I
that's right.
didn't run low, to be honest, but I wanted to optimize.
No, you
So,
want to
yeah,
There's right. Absolutely. And
I want to feel
optimization is
good.
where it's at. Yeah, exactly. Now, let me be clear. Like my life had gone downhill pretty good over these last 5 years when I was like, this still's not right. Something's still not right. It's like, libido, weird things, And so I go to the doctor and what is it? 300 to 1,000 is the range. I was
Yeah,
236.
yeah.
I was
I mean,
below T.
well,
Like,
look, the
whoa.
range that the doctors will tell you is within range is lower because
Yes.
of just historics and all that stuff. But 300 is not appropriate for a man.
Not
So
no,
even though
not at all.
you go to the doctor and they'll be like, "Oh, you're 500. Oh, you're good." No, nonsense. You should be, north of 500.
I
700,
think I'm about at
800 if you're in your
800. Yeah, I'm
20s.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
if you're doing
7, 8.
TRT, they want you to be in that 800 to 1,000 is a
Yeah.
good range.
Yeah,
Unless
and
you're
I
trying
just
to be
lowered
some weird bodybuilder.
Yeah, I just lowered my testosterone a little bit because I was north of 1,000, and he wanted to keep me in that 800 to 1,000 range. So we're doing
It's
a
a
little
good
bit,
range.
and then I the first time my hemoglobin was a little high, so I
Yeah.
had to give blood right before the trip.
Yeah,
So I had to like scramble to give.
yeah, I give blood, kind of every 6 weeks. I mean, it's a good
I
thing
think
to
that's
do
because
anyway.
I think it's because you're a good Christian, sir. I would
No, I mean, no,
a good person.
hematocrit or whatever it is
Oh, that's
levels.
right. It does
Yeah,
refresh, doesn't that?
yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
it
It,
basically? It's
it
like a
gets
skin.
high.
It's
So
like
if you give blood, you don't want your blood to be thick like
yeah,
motor
it's like
oil.
a blood skin. Yeah, it's like a blood skin peel in a way, chemical
Yeah,
peel
yeah.
in a way.
But it's
Yeah,
good. It's good for you, and yes, it's
absolutely,
useful and helpful and not a bad
and
thing to do.
refreshing. Yeah, so I went in. I was 236.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whoa.
Dude, your
So I
life is
start
shit
going in
at
for the injection.
236. You feel
Man,
terrible.
dude, it was that, and it just boosh. Like my life went just skyrocket.
Yeah,
Everything changed.
yeah,
Everything changed.
which by the way, so people don't understand. Like, look, I mean, I've always been pretty jacked, right? I've been a
Yeah, I saw your
yeah,
guns, by the way.
yeah. I've been a semi-professional athlete. I've owned a jiu-jitsu school. I've trained near. I mean, I now take more rest days than I used to, but I mean, at my
Good.
like kind of peak, physical fitness schedule, I was doing almost 9 workouts a week. So I would do 5 days a week of CrossFit. Every morning I would do a CrossFit WOD Monday through Friday. I would train jujitsu at least twice a week, and I was teaching in those days too. And we're talking like 42 to like 45, 46. Actually, maybe 48. So a couple of years before a couple of years ago before I moved here, I was my volume of what I was doing. Now I built up to that, right? If you're doing a lot of volume, you can adapt. But I was doing, those CrossFit WODs. I was training and teaching jujitsu, but I was also adding supplemental training in there as well. And then on Saturdays I would road bike or different things because I'm a little bit of a maniac. The difference between me when I went on testosterone, TRT versus not was only maybe like 3 or 4 pounds of muscle. But what changed was my recovery, right? My feel good, because the testosterone is I can do this kind of a hormone, right? I feel good.
Oh yeah,
yes.
when I inject it that first half hour, it's like you feel it like coursing through. It's
Yeah, well, dude, you're sensitive to it then. But normally, like people just, if you're on it for a couple of weeks, you feel a change in attitude, right? You feel a, you know what? I got this. I can accomplish. Women too, by the way. Women, if they have low testosterone, now their numbers are like 60, right? But if they have low testosterone, it's by the way, what makes you crazy is estrogen. If you're going to be a little nuts, if you're going to be, it's your estrogen is the hormone that makes you a little bit crazy and irritable, which is why when you hear of roid rage and things like that, it's because in years past, if you increase your testosterone levels, your estrogen levels go up too. And that's the ragey hormone. I mean, just ask women in the luteal phase how they feel.
Well, yeah, it's like beer muscles in a weird way, because it's like you both get the increased testosterone, which makes you and you get the craziness of the non,
And so women, if they've got low libido, it's low testosterone. If they that's the reason, like, women who are in perimenopause, will go nuts and wreck their lives and tear down the house around them, because and do all kinds of crazy things, is because those hormone levels get out of whack. I mean, I used to have a doctor on my show on a regular basis, and we're still friends, but he would come in person when I had that studio in California, and he wrote a book on hormones called Hormone Secrets. Robert Yoho, I think was his name, if I'm remembering correctly. But he would talk about women coming into his plastic surgery office, because that's what he did. He was a plastic surgeon, and he started noticing that these women were coming in and just their lives were upended, and they were wanting these radical cosmetic surgery. And he started going, hey, why don't we just test you on your hormones? And then he would see that their hormones were all out of whack, and he'd prescribe, some bioidentical hormones for them. And then all of a sudden they'd be like, you know what, I'm good. I don't really need that.
Right. What's
surgery.
that? Progesterol? Is that the one?
Progesterone. Yeah. I mean, there's others that are,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a brand name thing, but there's bioidentical hormones and stuff that, but I mean, getting hormones straightened out when you get older, from a quality of life standpoint, make a huge difference. And then, if you want to do other things, there's peptides, and there's, I mean, look, food is medicine. Most people just eat like crap, and that's, what destroys them. There's a whole host of things that you can do to increase your quality of life. But yeah, I'm a big believer in, hey, you get a little bit older, go check your hormones, get that straightened out, and feel good. But it's not like I'm going to be a bodybuilder if I go and get my testosterone to be more like it was in my 30s and 40s.
No, not at all. But like I said, it shifted my life. It changed my life. I'm not going to lie. So like, I just think it's good, especially with someone like yourself, to have that. We're literally a month apart in our age. Like, it's crazy. So let's shift. We'll shift another one. We'll go to an easy one. I would assume, I don't know. What are your thoughts on Iraq, Afghanistan? Do you think we were bamboozled as a general sense about the military industrial complex? Did you feel it was I know it's nuanced, but I just like maybe just a short thought of that. I don't want to get too deep, because it's going to lead to, I want to talk about Venezuela. So I just like to maybe get a little understanding of what you thought of those points, so I can maybe reference it as how we
So look, I do believe that there's a group of people, call them the war military industrial complex, that we were warned
Smedley
about.
Butler.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were warned about those folks, right? Who benefit from chaos in the world, who benefit from wars, who make a shit ton of money when there's conflicts around the globe, and would like to see us in that perpetual state. And there are people that were a part of that, and I've shifted my thinking on some of these things over time as new information arose. Because I mean, man, I'm a patriot. I was inspired by the World War II guys that went and fought a great evil, and hey, let's go and let's kill some Nazis and protect people, and I also think that there is a responsibility for big brother cultures to step in and straighten things out. And by the way, that's why I'm not opposed to some of the National Guard stuff that you mentioned earlier, and we can talk about some of those things too.
You are not?
I am not.
Right. And I understand that. And like, and just to say, I had Dan McKnight to defend the Guard on it, and it's interesting. Once again, we could talk more constitutionality of it, even more than anything. But go ahead, please continue.
There's a time to press the boundaries of things in order to straighten some shit out. You know what?
I know, but
There's a time to knock heads. There's a time when you got to call dad in. I said that one time, and somebody got irritated that Trump's dad. No, I'm not calling Trump dad. I'm saying that sometimes you need somebody to come in with and exert an extra level of authority to straighten out failed things. And our cities here in this country have failed. We have allowed this, liberal and stupid left-wing mindset to destroy and make it to where you can't walk around certain places and be safe with your family. And they aren't enforcing the laws, and they aren't doing what has been agreed upon in our social contract. And so pushing the boundaries of those, I'm not totally uncomfortable with that. And that would, that's going to make some people nuts. But Iraq, what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan and some of those places was a travesty, but it was a travesty based upon a thinking that is corrupt. And by that, I mean, we do not share the same worldview as Islam. We do not share the same worldview.
They don't hate us for our freedom. It's just not a true statement.
Well, not just that. I mean, China,
and we can't enforce our democracy on them. To your point, it doesn't work. They don't want to.
Remember the idea.
Like
the idea.
Right. Both.
The failed idea is that people, if you just gave them democracy and gave them freedom, they're going to know what to do with it. We are we're a Judeo-Christian,
I think that was
Greco-Roman. Those four legs of that stool is what has created the most prosperity. That's why when you got a Nick Fuentes preaching white supremacy and some of those guys that I'm not fans of that are talking along the lines of it's about the white race. No, it's about Western culture. I'm a Western supremacist. And Western culture was built upon the legs of that stool. And that's why we were the most prosperous nation that has ever existed, and also the most free nation that's ever existed. We got our problems, but we're still the place that everybody can come and live the best life possible. The things that are not possible in things that are outside of Western culture. And it is that informed, again, that four-legged stool, Judeo, Christian, Greco-Roman. That is what informed Western philosophy.
So I'm going to push back on you for two of those legs, which
Sure.
is fine, because I like you, man. This is not good. No, I like you. I think that it's like we're so aligned. You know what it is? This is it. Like if we were to sing I seek harmony. Okay.
Sure.
Like a singer guy. If you're going to sing the same note, it's got to be the exact same note. But if you're going to sing a harmony, it's got to be a harmony. You ever hear that note that's just one off and it just sounds dissonant?
It's discordant.
That's like where we are, but we're not off. Like, you know what I mean? We're off by like,
I'm with you. I love the musical references. I've got professional violinists as daughters.
Oh, beautiful. I'm a singer-ish. I wouldn't.
I sing too.
Maybe we can do a duet sometime. I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it. It'll be fun. We'll do some karaoke, man. Come out to Phoenix when you're out here. We'll do a karaoke show.
Right. I'm actually going to be in Phoenix this weekend, but I'm at an event.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm at an event.
Man,
I don't know that I'll have any free time, but we'll exchange numbers.
If you have an hour, I'll come to you, man. I'm not joking.
We might do that. We'll exchange contact
we'll
info
talk
after this.
Yeah. So on that vein, what I know we got a little sidetracked here. This show should be called Tangents, by the way.
That's okay. But all right, you were talking about you were setting me up. We were talking
pushing back on Judeo-Christian. Here it is. Judeo-Christian.
You're pushing back.
My apologies. Now I'm going to say this and I'm going to follow it up with just some I'm going to be as authentic as I can with you, sir.
Sure.
So Judeo-Christian was an initial term created in the 1800s for a Jewish person who converted to Christianity. It has been propagandized in the 1930s to help with our nationalism in America. From my understanding, that's my take on it from the research I've done. Now, nationalism, I would agree with you, is not a bad thing or anything to a certain extent. I think you made a point that nationalism keeps from imperialism, for globalism, which I agree, except for if the country's a freaking imperialist country, like the one that we are. I'm just putting that out there. Now,
well, listen. Okay, well, to that point, look,
sorry. Good.
I'll hit what you're saying.
Yeah,
so
please.
First,
no, I love this. So thank you.
Yeah. So first, I'm a colonist and I'm a conqueror. Okay, and I don't think that is.
Because you're an alpha man. You are a masculine man too. First of all, that is who you are. That is.
I don't think that's altogether wrong. We civilized the earth. Okay. And that was our job, and that is messy business. So for the people who
you think that's our job, the founding fathers' job was to civilize
not
the
the
earth?
founding fathers. No,
Okay, so
I'm
who?
talking. Let's talk about the God, right? Let's talk
Oh,
about us
okay.
being good
Oh,
stewards of the earth.
oh, I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I was just talking about the. Okay, yes, yes.
No,
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
talking broader than that. Okay.
Yeah, let's go broad.
I
Yeah,
think
let's go
our
through.
job
Yeah.
is to be good stewards of the earth, which we were given a task and given a job here on this earth by the Almighty God, I believe. And some of that is to civilize things, which is messy business. And we want to look through modern lenses where you don't punch people in the face anymore, which I think we should bring knuckle sandwiches back. I think there's a lot of people that would benefit well from a steady diet of those. I think there's a lot of things that could be straightened out, even on social media and things like that, if you could have direct confrontations with people. I think duels and things like that should come back because people run their mouth way too much without consequence and are able to do things like what they've done to Charlie and trafficking for clicks in his death and things like that. They're just despicable. It's because nobody's punching people in the face anymore. Now people talk about punching a Nazi and all that sort of stuff, but that's the left-wing, idiots that have no strength and that's all online kind of stuff. And they're just a collective mob. That I completely disagree with, right? But we cannot forget there's been so much of a perversion in our culture with what's been going on in regards to the Crusades or the lies that are being told about history, the lies that are being told about colonizing. I mean, the British Empire did great things all around this globe by taking over cannibalist cultures, and different cannibalistic cultures and different things like that to spread Christianity.
I just think that America is not the United Kingdom. So it's one of those things where I just looked at it was America should be the beacon, right? That should be the light that everyone should strive to be, not us make them that. No. Go ahead, continue. I'm sorry, I just jumped in. I apologize. I jumped in. Like
I'm talking.
In broad,
we're going
right?
in the way back, broad.
Yeah.
And so so people who are wanting to apologize for Christopher Columbus and things like that. I think it's absurd, and I don't think
you're not going to get that, man. Let's be honest. Running water, sanitation, that's a beautiful fucking thing, man.
It is a good thing, and I think we should celebrate those things and not be back on our back feet apologizing for the things that we've done at every turn, which is what they want us to do. And I'm just not opposed to that. I'm opposed to that. I'm not in favor of being on an endless apology tour for past sins. I think it's absurd. But the second
100.
thing you said was about the Judeo-Christian thing, and that bothers me a little bit because
I want you to, and I know it would, and I knew that would. Yeah,
I agree with you that some of those terms get propagandized, but also there's factual basis for what God gave to the Jews as commands. Just even washing your hands, the different things that God said to set them apart, that became the basis of a lot of what we did as cultures, cannot be ignored. And that was the Judeo part of the Judeo-Christian experience. And so I don't think that that's altogether wrong. And that's how I mean it. Right. There is still a foundational basis in Judaism for our laws. Jethro, Moses's father-in-law, gave us the representative republic as a model. He gave us that hierarchical government. There's things like that you cannot escape, that people want to escape because they're like, well, come on, separate the Judaism from the Christianity. You can't totally. That informs so much of what our founding fathers did in forming this government.
Right. I would never do that, first of all. And to your point, that is an excellent, I love exactly how you explain that. You're not weaponizing the term. No. Many people are weaponizing that term as I'll call out Dinesh D'Souza directly. I've been trying to get in a debate with him since intelligent design, but we won't get into all that. That's only 15 or 20 years ago, right? But no, the way you explain that, I'm in agreement with that. You're getting me to nod my head with that, right? So yeah, there are obviously foundations upon which things grow and through civilization. I think it's slightly different in the way than you interpret it, but guess what? I think we're actually saying the same things in different ways. I really do. And
Yeah,
I'm
no,
really
and
appreciating
that's why these conversations are important because
Absolutely.
yes, we're going to have some disagreements on some things, but we're probably closer together than we are further apart.
We are. So this is the second part of this that I want to share with you. My history is a little different. My father was born in 1940 in Hamburg. My mother was born in 1944 in a town called Horndorf, which is about 60 to 70 miles from Dresden. My grandfather was a Nazi soldier in aircraft. When the war was lost, Russia got half of Germany. They got my mom's half with my grandfather. So, you know how they get you through youth?
Mm-hmm.
So they had the Stalin, one of those, what was, I forget the Stalin group, but it was some camp, little cramp, fucking, the brownies for Stalin, for my mom, whatever that is. So my mom comes up with her friend. She's got to be like 7 years old. This pamphlet, oh, Papa, gotta go. He tears it up in front of the kid. The kid reports him to the father, right? And they escape East Germany in 1953. Man, I don't know how it's crazy, the story that it is. I did a podcast on it. I'm so blessed to be here. My dad walked hand in hand with his family from Hamburg to Berlin, lost a child from malnutrition. My grandmother just had no more to give.
Wow.
After the war, he was a Nazi member because he was a civilian engineer. He made sewers and streetlights.
Oh yeah,
I mean, look, blacklisted for 5 years, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
good.
look, there was tons of people that joined the
Yeah.
Nazi Party because
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what you
yeah.
did then, and
Yeah,
that's what it was
right.
about. And there's plenty of people that didn't commit war crimes in that, but were
Right.
proud German people that were a part of these
Yeah.
things and had no knowledge of some of the stuff that went on.
Yeah.
Very different than the SS that were committing atrocities,
Yeah.
or
And
Hitler's
my
inner
grandfather
circle.
was part of that.
Yeah,
My grandfather may have been part of in that
yeah,
one.
my grandfather was a little bit younger, but my grandfather and my grandmother were German as well, and came here, and I don't know all of their history as well as I would have liked to. I wasn't as interested in it as the time, and so I feel like I missed out on asking a lot of those questions. But no, I mean, man, it's, and by the way, I do want to have you on and have you tell the story. So after we end the live here, I'll get all your direct contact info. But
Thank you.
but I've got time. I've got 4 more minutes, let's call it. But I got time for one more thing you want to pin me on, and then we should do this again. This is fun.
Let's not pin you on it. So
no, I mean that look, I'm a combat sports athlete. Let's go. Hit me with something.
Let's do it. So this is my experience, and you're going to attribute it to God, and I'm only going to share it with you because I'm trying to figure out what happened. We're going to talk in the future, but I quit this podcast 2 weeks ago. My last co-host, he's having a baby. Love it. So happy for him. He's having a baby in like less than a month. He's having a baby girl. Already has a name. I'm so excited. Jason, you get it. He did the intro, by the way. That was his intro. It was awesome. So first of all, so he was great. So let me just think. So I lost that. I asked the universe, your God, what your God is, I guess, whatever. I just said, am I making an impact? I've been doing this 5 years, 250 podcasts, 500 hours content, talk to some actual real people, some important people. Yeah. And so I go through this and I go, is it worthy? And the first email I get is a guy who I actually went to his house for 4 hours and he didn't remember me. He sent me an email completely like a stranger. Like he did not remember me. And I was like, oh my God, I have no fucking, I literally, let me put it this way. I almost disconnected everything, sold all my equipment, was ready to sharpen the razor blades and load the magazine, if you know what I mean. Like metaphorically, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So I made peace. I literally like made peace that I was quitting. Your email comes in, followed by another email. I now have 10 podcasts and I literally, because I asked. And what it was a surrender. It was like this weird, like you talk about surrendering to Christ,
Amen.
I would assume in that weird way. I think we talk the same thing. We just talk different language. And I just wanted to share that with you. And I just love your thoughts on like how that surrender was for you. If you could in that like last few minutes, because I didn't get that little story about how you surrendered.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, look, I told you I was a preacher's kid, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, and I came to the faith by, you know, being a preacher's kid and having that sour, right? You know, and having that frustration. And at some point you make those decisions. I intellectually, you know, could understand, and I believe the arguments, you know, that support my faith, but that's very different than making it your own and you know, being a committed believer. And I'm, you know, super imperfect. I got all kinds of problems. I got all kinds of things that are terrible about me, but
you're human?
Yeah, but I do believe in Jesus Christ. I do believe that he is my Lord and Savior and the God of the Bible. And I think that there's nothing else that makes the same amount of sense. I'm not uptight in the way that when people say I threw it out to the universe and all that stuff. You know, I see that as, you know, the understanding that we have a creator. A lot of people, I think, come by those terms and things like that sincerely because a lot of folks have been hurt by Christianity or hurt by Christians. I should be more specific. A lot of people do not believe in Christ because a Christian failed them or a Christian did them wrong or an institution led by Christians did them wrong or a church that is at its core a corporate institution, many of them, you know, run by business models and things like that, did them wrong. And so they then dismiss what Christ tells us and dismiss what the Bible tells us. And I think that is more common, you know, amongst people who are, you know, anti-God or atheist or, you know, just I'm spiritual, but I'm just not religious. You know, people who say those sort of things generally have just been hurt by other people. And it's hard to separate that because you imagine that somebody's going to be perfect because they believe in Christ. Oh, well, then they're going to be doing the right things. Well, then they're going to be, you know, behaving correctly when, you know, we're all screwed up and we're all messed up. That's why I also give all kinds of room to pastors and to others that, you know, many people hold on a pedestal. I mean, being a preacher's kid dissuades you or disabuses you of the notion that any of those guys are perfect. And I've seen a lot of bad behavior over the years. I've had bad behavior. Thank God I've never been a pastor, but I've had bad behavior. I mean, you know, I am as, you know, bad as it gets in some ways. And, you know, I realize that we're all human and we're all doing, you know, our best. Some of us should be catapulted out into the sea because there is true evil out there. I do.
The one's hiding behind it, right? Like,
yeah.
Like it's all about intent. It really is about whether it's the malicious intent or the, you know, benevolence versus malevolence or whatever.
Yeah, well, there are malevolent, evil actors out there, and there are demonic actors out there, and there's people that you know should be put to death in our culture. And I'm a big believer in capital punishment and those sort of things. But I also believe that, you know, it takes the sons of bitches, the hard men, to put things back to order. And that's why when people are very uncomfortable with things like you mentioned before, the deployment of the National Guard into failed cities where failed policies have destroyed them and people are not safe, or where our open borders have allowed criminals to walk free. And I'm not in favor of all the propaganda that goes about, and people are engaging that. Even on our side, they're misunderstanding what ICE is doing, and they're hearing stories, and they're taking these narratives that, oh, they're just ripping, you know, poor, you know, babies out of the arms of people and deporting them and all that stuff. There's so much propaganda and so much nonsense out there. But I do believe that there is time to, hey, when we are on the verge of absolute collapse as a country, there's times in which we push the boundaries of our Constitution and we test our Constitution for its resiliency.
Yeah, and I think the law and order was solidly 2A. So I don't believe in gun-free zones, red flag areas. I think if everyone was strapped, honestly, everyone was
people
strapped.
Would behave a lot nicer.
Culture was that. I guarantee there's no fucking Antifa. There's none. I mean, everybody's
or if you could just deliver some knuckle sandwiches again.
Right. But you understand what I'm saying.
I
Clearly you understand.
I do.
So,
I do.
Bryce, thank you so much. Please share everything. This has been so. I did not know how this was going to go because it could have gone sideways and everything. And thank you for your grace and just the way we were, just like we were. I think we're both very open about this. So thank you.
This is fun. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And I always close my show out with "To God be the glory." So
I like it, man.
Thank you for having me on and including me.
Thank you very much. Everyone else, it's been a Knocked Conscious. Bryce, we'll have you on an If by Whiskey maybe sometimes. A little more political, it was more fun. I'd love to be on your show, and I have a story. I have a story beyond the story. So
we'll do it.
I know we're going to end this because you got to go. So thank you again, everybody. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.